What if you're not sad, just spiritually starving? The hunger, beneath the silence. You say you're tired, you say you're sad, but it's not the kind of sadness that weeps. It's the kind that just weighs, like gravity has turned emotional, like even breathing feels borrowed. You're not crying, you're just empty. You go through the motions. Wake up, work, reply, performance, eat, scroll, sleep, repeat. And yet, nothing feels wrong enough to justify the void. You're doing okay. You're functioning. So why does it feel like part of you is flickering? What if the word isn't sad? What if it's starved? Not for food, not for sleep, but for something much deeper, something sacred. You are spiritually starving. Starving for stillness. Starving for awe. Starving for moments that feel like more than transactions. You miss depth. You miss meaning. You miss being moved. And the worst part is, you've gotten used to it. You've normalized the numbness. You've learned how to smile while empty. You've become fluent in surface-level conversation. You no longer expect life to feel full. Just manageable. Just efficient. Just fine. But your soul, it wasn't built for fine. It was built to burn. There's a hunger inside you that isn't pathological. It's prophetic. It's the part of you that refuses to be domesticated by routine. And maybe, just maybe, it's not a problem to be fixed. It's a calling to be followed. In the next part, we'll explore where this hunger really comes from, and why ignoring it might be the root of your deepest fatigue. Where the ache begins. This ache didn't come out of nowhere. It's not a glitch. It's a signal. There was a time when you felt wonder easily, when the sky could stop you, when a song could bring you to your knees. Back then, life didn't need to be impressive. It just needed to be real. But somewhere along the way, you started trading awe for achievement, curiosity for competency, presence for performance. You got praised for being composed, for being productive, for being so mature for your age. And bit by bit, the wildness inside you went underground. The you that stared too long at the moon. The you that asked too many questions. The you that cried for reasons you couldn't name. You buried them under the need to cope, to adapt, to be who the world needed you to be. You built a life that looks stable on the outside. But your soul? It's still knocking, still whispering. This isn't it. Not because your life is bad, but because it's barren of what made you feel alive. You don't need to burn it all down. You don't need to disappear. But you do need to remember. Remember that you were never meant to survive your life. You were meant to inhabit it, to feel it, to be fed by it. And that ache? It's the hunger pang of your spirit saying, "You're feeding me everything, but what I actually need." Next, we'll talk about what spiritual nourishment looks like, and how to begin finding it again in a world that doesn't slow down. A different kind of fullness. Spiritual hunger doesn't always look like longing. Sometimes it looks like apathy, like scrolling past beauty and feeling nothing, like hearing music that once moved you, and just skipping it. It looks like laughing at the wrong moments, numbing with noise, making yourself busy because quiet feels unbearable. And the worst part? You start thinking this is normal, that maybe growing up means giving up, that maybe this is just how life is, empty, efficient, expected. But there's a voice, however faint, that won't let you forget. You weren't born to survive routines. You were born to be moved. And maybe that ache you feel isn't a weakness. Maybe it's your soul telling you, this isn't it. We all crave something sacred, not religious necessarily, but real. Something that reminds us we're not just numbers, names, or notifications. Something that pulls us into the present and says, this matters. You can find it in the smallest places. The way the wind brushes your skin. The way a stranger smiles when they don't have to. The feeling of tears you didn't expect, watching someone else heal. These moments aren't productivity. They're presence. And presence is what the starving soul feeds on. Not more tasks, not more praise. Just the permission to feel fully alive. Again. Maybe your sadness isn't clinical. Maybe it's existential. Maybe you're not malfunctioning. You're misaligned. You've built a life that looks good, but you've left out the things that made you feel. You've called it strength. You've called it resilience. But if you're honest, it feels like silence. You miss the parts of you that used to get goosebumps, the parts that believed, that burned, that prayed, not out of fear, but out of awe. You want that back, not for nostalgia, but because your spirit is tired of pretending. In the next part, we'll begin the work of remembering how to feel again, without shame, without fear, and without needing permission. And if any of this feels like it's naming what you never knew how to say, don't lose the thread. In the noise, it's easy to forget what matters. But if this space brings you closer to yourself, stay close to it too. These aren't just words. They're mirrors. Swing. We'll begin the work of remembering how to feel again, without shame, without fear, and without needing permission. The art of feeling again. To feel again, really feel, isn't easy. Not after years of numbing. Not after being told that feelings are distractions, weaknesses, inconveniences you learn to suppress, to smile on cue, to get over it. But the cost of that composure was connection to yourself, to the world, to what's real. Feeling isn't a regression, it's a return. To cry without shame, to be moved without explanation, to sit with grief without solving it. That's not fragility, that's freedom. Because when you let yourself feel, you open the door to everything. Not just sadness, but wonder. Not just anger, but clarity. Not just pain, but presence. And it starts small. You notice how the light falls across your coffee mug. You actually hear the wind. You say, I'm tired, and mean it. You stop apologizing for needing rest. You stop pretending that stress is success. You stop hiding the parts of you that don't fit the performance. And then something shifts. You realize healing isn't a goal. It's a way of being. It's saying yes to what your spirit says yes to, and saying no when your body whispers, enough. You don't need a breakthrough. You need permission. Permission to stop running from your own humanity. Permission to be both soft and strong, messy and meaningful, tired and worthy. And maybe that's what spiritual nourishment looks like. Not escaping pain, but making room for truth. In the next part, we'll explore how to begin living from that truth. Gently, quietly, but with a strength that's deeper than survival. Living from the inside out. Most people live from the outside in. They wake up and react to emails, to pressure, to people who need things. But living from the inside out, that's different. That's revolutionary. It means beginning your day with a question, not a command. What do I need right now? What truth am I ignoring? What would feel honest? It means letting your soul set the pace, not your inbox. This isn't about quitting everything. It's about living like you actually belong to yourself. You stop outsourcing your worth. You stop waiting for permission to rest, to speak, to slow down. And no, it's not easy, because the world rewards exhaustion, applauds overcommitment, fears softness. But you've started to see it differently. You know now that spiritual nourishment can look like turning your phone off for an hour, saying "I don't know" and meaning it, letting a tear fall during a song without brushing it away. It can look like silence. It can look like laughter. It can look like saying no with love to them and yes with courage to you. And the more you live from that place, the more real life becomes. Not curated, not performative, just real. Because presence isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's in the quietest rebellion. Drinking your coffee slowly, looking someone in the eyes, forgiving yourself. In the final part, we'll step fully into that presence, not as a performance, but as a new way of being that doesn't need rescuing anymore. Returning to yourself. This was never about becoming someone else. It was about remembering. Remembering who you were before the noise, before the guilt, before you measured your worth by your usefulness. You don't need to escape your life. You need to come back to it. Come back to the breath you've ignored, the voice you've silenced, the beauty you stopped believing you were allowed to enjoy. You come back slowly, with cracked hands and a quiet heart, with fewer answers and more awe. You stop asking for proof that you matter. You stop bargaining with burnout. You stop apologizing for your needs. You just exist. And that existence becomes sacred. Not because it's productive, not because it's impressive, but because it's yours. You laugh again, not for the camera. You cry again, not as a breakdown, but as a release. You speak again, not to perform, but to connect. You live from the center now. The outside world still spins, but you don't lose yourself in it, because now you know. You were never empty, just unfed. And now you are feeding yourself with what you always needed: truth, stillness, and the radical act of coming home to you. Maybe you're not sad. Maybe you're finally waking up. And maybe that's what healing really is. Not becoming new, but finally remembering who you were before you forgot.